Hello, folks. It's your good old pal Colby Evans here with yet another episode of the ARCA Racing Podcast. We had a great throwback week at Salem, lots of action to cover, and we actually hit our goal. All $2,000 have been hit for Brad's Tires for Kansas. We'll get to all that later in the show, but let's introduce myself once again. Start and Park Car on Twitter, follow ARCA Racing on Twitter, and follow Menards on Twitter, and of course, follow my guy Brad Smith on Twitter. Let's jump right into the action. Salem Throwback Weekend. Now, they don't really put much effort, I'll say, into this Throwback Weekend as much as they wish they would, because the throwback feel for ARCA dates back just as far as NASCAR, 1953 to be exact. 1953. And there's so many legendary ARCA paint schemes out there. A lot of ARCA cars were flat one color, but there's always those definitive ARCA paint schemes that a lot of people are very synonymous with. The Frank Kimmel 46 car from the early 2000s, the Ansel Menards car that Frank Kimmel drove as well, and just a lot of other special ones. But anyway, sadly, only 4 of our 18 cars did throwbacks this weekend, which was kind of a little disappointing because I actually had a lot of ideas personally for me. I thought Ty Gibbs and Joe Gibbs could have done a Coy Gibbs MBNA throwback. I wish they would have done that. I wish Rajah and Rev Racing had done sort of maybe like Wendell Scott throwback, or even a Bubba Wallace throwback to his first truck win. What else? You could say Brad Smith and Wayne Peterson were throwing it back to 2 years ago when they had those cars. That was kind of fun. We only had 4 throwbacks. 21 of Cody Swanson, GMS Racing, doing a Ricky Craven throwback. The famous Tide Ride always looks good unless you're JTG Doherty and you botch the whole scheme. Amazing throwback. Great choice. Looked amazing. 69 car for Will Kimmel. Charlie Glotzbeck throwback. Nailed it. Perfection. Even actually got a matching fire suit to go along with it, and we'll get to it later, but they had such a great race. And of course, the main guy who has done these throwbacks the last couple of years, Andy Hillenberg, absolutely nailed it this year, from getting throwback drivers to nailing 2 throwback paint schemes. Mason Mingus in a beautiful Harry Gant throwback to his Skull Bandit days, and Ed Pompa, really shocked this did not win Throwback of the Year award. It's in the thumbnail, but Ed Pompa ran a classic Frank Kimmel Ansel Menards throwback. The neon yellow, just beautiful car. Absolutely beautiful. But I can see from a history standpoint why Charlie's 69 car, or Charlie's 3 car, Kimmel's 69 car, would actually go on to win the Throwback Award for Best Throwback. It was one of our biggest field for throwback races, but it's about what Salem usually draws. Like Winchester, Salem is really rough on the car, and that's why a lot of people like the track so much. Salem is just one of those tracks where you gotta nail it perfect every single lap. If you miss one time, you will miss your lap, you will lose time to the leaders, and if you're leading, you'll lose time of your lead. It's one of those tracks that you go back and you watch when those races had 30-plus cars, and you're like, wow, very challenging track. And it was. We did not have any start and parks for this race, which was good to see, despite only having 18 cars. Even the 2 slower entries, AJ Moyer, who was driving the 06 for Peterson this weekend, he was in the black Ford. Great to see the black Ford back after I was worried that they had blown up at Michigan. And, of course, Brad Smith, who actually made the attempt to run the full race. And I was very happy to see, because I was kind of worried that Brad would pull it in early, because he had never run the red Chevrolet at Salem before, so I was a little worried at how he would attack it. But he actually ran some pretty good lap times. Only about 2 seconds a lap slower, but for Brad's speed, that's pretty good. It actually is pretty good. Like, we only had 4 throwbacks, like I said before. Going back to fast track racing, I said throwback drivers. Although they are running throwbacks for there, Ken Schrader was simply running the same car that Stephanie Moyer had been running kind of all season. It was kind of where it's like this it's hard to kind of describe the colors, but it's like white on the back and like, no, it's like this bluish, tealish on the back, and then it's like white front with the 12 on it. Wasn't a throwback, but still had Ken Schrader, throwback driver in it. Great to see Ken back once again for fast track racing. Didn't expect the run like he got back at DuQuoin, but was just happy that they were able to still get a top 10 finish regardless. But like I said, everyone attempted the full race. And unfortunately, for one of the low-budget teams, it was still a bad night. Richmond Racing, Zachary Tinkle, who's been driving for them, suffered a pretty hard crash on the backstretch. I believe they never showed a full replay of what happened, but I believe it was Ed Pompa that maybe turned him. I don't confirm that because we never actually saw a replay of what happened. It did look totaled as much from my vantage point. Definitely a new front clip body and possibly a new radiator, but I think that's it. I think the car itself can actually be repaired. Not for Kansas. I think they have another piece ready for Kansas, but definitely can be repaired for the short tracks come next year. Sadly, who was also involved in that crash was the guy who is now third in the point standings, who I mentioned on last week's show could have really taken advantage of this race, Nick Sanchez. With Thad Moffitt not in the 46, this was a great opportunity race for Sanchez to really gain some points on Moffitt head into the last race. Because that, I'm going to probably botch his name again, J.P. Bergeron, I hope I really hate botching his name, but he was driving the 46 this weekend, and right now is listed to drive the 46 at Kansas, but I could swear that they said that Thad had sponsorship for Kansas, so I got to believe that means that DGR is bringing 3 cars to Kansas, by my calculations, because Sanchez now moved into third in the points by a pretty hefty margin. I mean, just under 30 points, so it's safe to say that the top 3 in points are kind of, the top 5, you could say, in points are kind of already set for ARCA right now, heading into its last race. And despite being on older tires than AJ, Brad, they kind of ran together kind of the whole race. And I wonder if that was mainly due to AJ being a rookie. And despite having a couple of practice laps under his belt, I would not have been shocked as if Brad running ahead of him and Wayne just kind of telling AJ to follow him. And only when AJ really got new, I believe he got different tires on the halfway break pit stop, did he really actually start to run faster laps than Brad and eventually pass him when Brad decided to call it a day. It was listed as an electrical issue. Only 3 cars dropped out. It was listed as an electrical issue for Brad, but I kind of believe that if it was, he would have pulled out earlier. So I got to believe that maybe it's just the car was giving up. The motor might have been giving up again. We've been having some issues with that motor where you can start to feel it go down. Hopefully we can get all these issues resolved for Kansas, because now that we have tires, I want us to be able to run that full distance. We unfortunately have not been able to complete a Kansas race. I don't think Brad has completed a Kansas race since 2017, and I really would love to change that this October, because we're putting a lot of effort into this race with a lot of support from a lot of people. One of the only other accidents that happened in the race was the 0-1. This was not an Andy Hillenberg entry this week. It was actually a Willie Mullins entry. The 0-1 number listed under Fast Track Racing, but pretty much everything else was used by Willie. Unfortunately, hit the wall. Thought it broke the rear track bar mount, but luckily it was just a big hit to the wall, because Salem is actually just like Darlington. Sometimes you hit the wall at Salem to go fast. And he had actually hit the wall pretty good and unfortunately caused a lot of damage to his car. But nonetheless, the rest of the 15 cars finished the race. Corey Heim, I don't know if it's just because they've missed the setup, but I don't want to blame it all on Corey, but it's amazing how much they've really kind of thrown it away the last couple of races. Because even after DuQuoin, Ty did not have that big of a lead. But in the last 2-3 races, especially Bristol, I feel like kind of sealed it. Corey has just fallen too far behind, and now it's over a 30-point lead. We'll talk more about the championship a little later, but Corey is going to need a miracle to have a chance at this championship. Let's just put it like that. We only had one break in this. We only had 2 breaks in this race, actually, which is a little bit different split up than usual. First break came at lap 100, and then the second break came at 150, which I figured was a little weird because you usually do about lap 75 and then lap 150. But this time it was lap 100 and then lap 150. And then you can actually, if you guys watch the race, you can actually see Ty Gibbs won the pole, but not by much. He only won the pole by 0.03 of a second, and he was actually upset at his crew because he was only that much faster than the field. He was actually upset at himself. And you could even see it throughout the first 30 laps. Taylor Gray, who was in second place, he hung right there with him, only about 3 or 4 tenths behind. He really, you got to believe that if he could have gotten out front, Ty may not have been able to pass him. This was one of the, as we've gotten more into this season, you really have seen that 18 car, despite it being dominant, yes, but it's definitely not won by as much as it has before. And that's definitely the case that we saw on Saturday night. Unfortunately, the race itself would not get any better for Taylor Gray, as coming to one of the stage breaks, that car was loose. He could barely keep any speed in that car. Then it was revealed he had absolutely corded a tire. I think it was the left rear. He had corded that thing to shreds and was basically just limping around. Unfortunately, lost 2 laps getting that tire fixed, and he just never recovered from it. I was worried that meant we were going to get a run out by Ty Gibbs again. Though usually the preferred groove to restart at Salem is the outside line, because just like Darlington, you get a huge launch off the outside flying into turn 2. That kind of been the same thing that Ty had been choosing all night. But for some reason, he changed it on one of the last restarts. Important to also note that coming up to that last stage break on lap 150, Corey Heim had actually went a lap down and was having the same issue that Taylor Gray was having, where his tire was coming apart. And it was just weird, like the calmness on the radio. You would think that they would be in such a thrash to get that car back on the track. It's like it was surprising that they were so calm about it in a lot of ways. But there's 11 of Mason Mingus, who has just done amazing this year for Andy Hillenberg. It really shows that when you get the right guy in Andy's equipment, Andy may not have elite equipment, but when you get the right driver in there, his equipment can go. And you love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. He went up there and took the free pass position away and actually got it. So for poor Corey, even though Corey Heim was running in about actually 5th place come the checkered flag, he was actually listed in 7th because the cars that he had passed were not actually for position. The highest that Corey Heim could do was 7th, unfortunately, and it's pretty much sealed his championship run. But Mason Mingus, an absolute beast of a job in that 11 car, giving that Harry Gant throwback plenty of TV time and another great run, and hopefully a halfway decent payday for Andy Hillenberg. Is I think 6th place only paid about $1,600, but it's usually better than the $1,000 that they get for finishing outside the top 10. That's for sure. Gracie Trotter. Actually, I would say, honestly, for Gracie, one of her better runs for Venerini. Pretty much ran top. She ran as low as 15th, but man, they made her car a lot better, and she got up to 5th. Definitely a good run for her, and on the lead lap, which is much needed. A lot of people, including me, were kind of disappointed at her runs this year. A lot of it's been kind of due to bad luck, but I really thought she would do a lot better this year after having a breakout season in ARCA West last season. Will Kimmel, the feel-good story. I had been tracking him on Facebook the last couple of weeks because we're friends on there. And this car, man, they kept hyping up this car. And it looked like a good piece. I don't know if it was a Venerini car or not. I don't think it was. But this was one of their best cars that they were hyping up. And Will, The car looks great. He looked like he was having a good time. And I think if he actually probably could have got the car out front, I don't know if they would have passed him. He had a good piece. And it was really good to see Will just smile. I've seen Kimmel at the racetrack just frustrated beyond belief. I've seen Bill Kimmel at the racetrack frustrated beyond belief. I hope those two hardworking guys finally had a good time at the track and could take a good finish home happy. I mean, to me, there was nothing better than seeing Will Kimmel after the race, just that big smile on his face with his kids there. Just if that doesn't make you feel good, then you're not a racing fan. If moments like that don't make you feel good, you are not a racing fan. But nonetheless, a great moment. Great to see the Charlie Glotzbeck throwback get plenty of TV time. It was kind of funny seeing that paint scheme and those numbers listed on a Toyota. That was kind of funny considering that they were two different manufacturers, but that's the funnier part about throwbacks. P3 went to Rajah. Definitely one of the more surprising runs of the night, as definitely judging by practice speeds and what Rajah was saying before the race to reporters, Rajah was definitely not expecting to run top 3. Top 10, obviously, but definitely not expect to running top 5, top 3 speeds. But I will admit, that last 100 laps, him and Gibbs, they would fly the rear corner, like skew it out coming off a 2, way better than everybody. Now, although that ate up the tires, he was able to keep just really good speed and ran very, very solid laps. I will admit, I was thoroughly impressed. Thoroughly impressed. And it makes me excited to see what Rajah can do in next year's ARCA series. The only thing I'm worried that might hurt Rev Racing, fielding 2 cars full-time with very minimal sponsorship. Marcus Lemonis out there, I know this is an ARCA team, but if you're listening, these are 2 really talented guys in Sanchez and Carruth. All they need is just a little bit of sponsor money. I'm sure they've said budgets for next season, but having some Camping World sponsorship, I feel like would definitely take advantage. So Marcus Lemonis, if you ever listen to this, please consider sponsoring Rev Racing. They thoroughly deserve it. Thoroughly deserve it. And then the shocking second place finisher was not Jesse Love, who was challenging all night. As I said before, Taylor Gray with his issues would actually finish outside of the top 10 in 11th place. Ken Schrader in the last 5 laps actually passed him on track to get 2 fast track cars up in the top 10. Going back to what I was saying earlier about lane choice, for some strange reason on the last restart, Ty Gibbs chose the inside. And I kind of called it from the beginning, and sure enough, even though it's a short track, using that side draft helped Jesse going down the backstretch, and within 2 laps cleared the 18 car of Gibbs. Now, Ty went right back up there, but Jesse himself is a very aggressive racer. And having Billy Venturini as the spotter, guarantee you Billy was putting him everywhere on track possible. And, yeah, Ty would get there, but he could not get alongside. Wasn't a part of the package? Yes and no. I do think the spoiler that ARCA runs is a little big for the series. I wish they would give the ARCA cars more than 650 horsepower at a short track. I wish they would kind of adjust their packages. If you want to run 650 at the big tracks, that's fine. But run maybe like a 750 plate at the short tracks just to make them, fly down the straightaway a little faster. I feel like that's kind of mixing everything up a little bit, but he could not get back by. And even by the end of the race, Ty actually started to fall off. We saw the 18 car show signs of weakness. The 18 car was beat on raw speed. And they finished second. Ty took the defeat perfectly. But it wasn't all over for Ty anyway, as we'll get to that. He still won something. We'll get to that in a second. But it was great to see a new winner, albeit a Venturini car, and albeit a guy who's already won quite a few races and a championship on the West Side. But we had a first-time winner in the ARCA main series for Jesse Love, getting his first win at just 16 years old. Does that make me feel old or what? I'm 20 years old and I'm sitting here talking to you guys, and a 16-year-old just won the ARCA race. Makes you feel old, doesn't it? But anyway, congratulations to Jesse. Great to see a new winner this season. We haven't seen many of them. Great to see Mobile One get a win. Venerini, as always hit or miss with that team. Love Big Bill. Billy, a good race. I mean, I would say it was definitely a good race. It'll definitely be interesting to see how the series is next year without Ty Gibbs. More than likely, I would say we will see Ty for a couple of races next season. But signs are pointing that although JGR will keep the ARCA team, Coy Gibbs will keep the team going, Ty will probably only be in the car for a couple of races next season. I think that'll really show right there who has the best equipment. And it really does show how talented Ty really was. But Jesse Love won. Great to see him win. Ty Gibbs, though, by virtue of the 27 car crashing out very early in the race, that clinched the short track championship for Ty Gibbs. He did win, so he still walked away tonight with a trophy presented to him late after the race. Ty Gibbs won the short track championship. Not really shocked. He dominated, absolutely dominated. The fact that it was even that close of a battle is kind of shocking to me. But they're both considered still rookies. Corey Heim was also running for Rookie of the Year as well, along with Ty. So they're in a battle together for Rookie of the Year status, which is kind of shocking to me. Since Ty ran 16 races last season, why he'd still be considered for Rookie of the Year. I could have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure they mentioned that during the broadcast that Corey Heim was still leading the Rookie of the Year standings. But I guess it's when you declare it. I don't know if that's the rules or not, but we'll just have to see. The points championship coming out, I said it was 33. I got the points mixed up. It was actually 34. Pretty much locks up the championship for Ty, like everyone kind of predicted. Unless we get a monstrous 35-car field for Kansas, which just sadly is not going to happen in this day and age. Ty Gibbs is your 2021 ARCA Menard Series champion. So that would basically mean 7 out of the 8 West races. I'm botching all today. 7 of the 8 East races for Gibbs. Over 50% of the main ARCA wins for Gibbs. The East Championship and now the main championship. ARCA may not have huge purse monies, but you can definitely say that Gibbs is getting the most out of it. That's for sure. They've just dominated this season. But congratulations is well served. Ty may have the best equipment, but he also shows that even when you have the same Gibbs car on track and Sammy Smith, seeing how much faster Gibbs really is shows you it's not just the car. He really can drive these ARCA cars to their limit. In part, I think it helps with his Xfinity experience, but nonetheless, definitely proves that Ty Gibbs, natural talented, cannot wait to see what he does in the Xfinity Series next year. But I hope he does come back to run some ARCA races next year. It would be nice to see the former champion running some races as well. But like I said, the championship lead is now up to 34 points. Sanchez is over 300 back. Moffitt's over 300 back. Brad's over 400 back. Like I said, top 5 is pretty much set in points. But I guess that's great. That means Brad will get a top 5 in points. I still think Thad will be at Kansas. We'll just have to wait and see the entry list comes out. Great that Rev Racing is at least, for now, in third place. As for the owner's points, same thing, kind of the owner's championship is decided pretty much as well. So not only did Gibbs win, you can add the owner's championship to the East win, and you can also add the owner's championship to the main series win as well. Because basically how ARCA pays is by owner points, not by driver points. That may come as a shock to you guys. From what I've learned, ARCA actually, I believe, pays by owner points. They don't pay by driver points, which is kind of stupid, but, apparently that's what they've been doing for years. That always came as a shock to me, but In some ways, I actually see how that could make sense. Always reward the team for putting out the effort and basically just reward the driver for saying, this is where you finished, here's your trophy. But the team, in my opinion, yeah, they really deserve the money. They really do. They work their asses off. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Even though we see that Gibbs team winning every week, I've been in the garage in ARCA enough times. That Gibbs team is still busting their ass every single race. The DGR team still busting their ass every single race. ARCA teams work hard. I don't care how big of a budget they have. ARCA teams work so hard. And I'm proud to be a part of those crew members when we walk into that garage every day. And I'm thankful for all the friends that I've made as well. Can't wait to see them all in Kansas again. Transferring into the next race. Obviously, there is no main ARCA race until Kansas in a couple weeks, but that does not mean the racing still ends for ARCA. We've got the West Series this weekend at the good old All-American Speedway. I don't remember them racing at All-American Speedway for quite a long time. Either way, it's great to see them back. I mean, I remember watching that series back when it was the formal K&N series, and of course, watching Greg Pursley every week just absolutely kill the field. Pull up some past races here if my computer will work for a second. Bear with me, guys. Not shocked once again. We have a pretty strong 23-car field, pretty much the same field that we had back at the Las Vegas Bullring. So, you know, it always is kind of funny when you think about it, how the West Series is actually drawing in more cars than the main series. And that's why I really wish that we would run a East-West main series showdown race at Iowa Speedway. Because compared to the haul from North Carolina and compared to the haul from the west side, you could say like Las Vegas or California, it's really not that long of a haul for those East and West teams. And I still think we could easily get a 40-car crowd and have one of the best races of the season. And in general, to begin with, I think the only reason why we split the fields back up again was because we just didn't have enough cars. I mean, I remember back in 2019, I think it was, the combo race, we only had 20. Sadly, that's just how it was. But yeah, All-American Speedway has they ran back there in 2019. They did not run there in 2020, obviously for COVID reasons. But apparently, I guess it had been on the schedule there for every season. And boy, I tell you, the winners list I'm looking at right now, I wish some of these guys were running again. But we got a solid field. We got 3 women, not 5 this time, but we got 3 women entered. Jolynn Wilkinson is back in the one again. I hope she can have a better run this time. Hopefully having this will being her 3rd main race of the season will help. Obviously, Bridget Burgess is back. They've had really tough go as of late. I think having only 1 car this far into the season, obviously upgrading from the car that they had last year, the old steel body. This car, it's just, they're doing a good job trying to bring it to the track as ready as possible. But, you know, when you're running on short tracks and road courses, it's hard to keep 1 car perfect. And I feel like now we're seeing kind of them having issues with it. So I hope for a strong run this weekend for Bridget. And, of course, the 3rd woman is Amber Slagle, who hopefully can finally have a clean race. I mean, this will be her 3rd start of the season, and hopefully this one can finally be clean for once. We got Josh Vanopoulos entered again, which is good to see. Taylor Gray, can he make it 3 in a row? We'll find out. It is a short track. Hopefully that 17 doesn't destroy everyone, but we'll find out. And I'm just wondering who he might wreck or who might wreck him. Got our usual low budget guys too. Christian Rose, good to see him entering again in the Bruce Cook entry. Caleb Costner, I hope he finally gets to race after not being able to race at Portland due to mainly a transmission failure. Hopefully he'll get a good run there. Travis Milburn for the Kart Idaho team kind of making a comeback later in the season. They have, I believe, 3 cars entered. The 11, 38, 78, and 08. They actually got 4 cars entered, so it's good to see them back. Always good to see Dean Thompson back. We got the Pedroncelli team. But looking at the standings right now, again, it's still pretty much anyone's championship. Like what one of my commenters is saying, the West race at Phoenix, usually a lot of the main series teams will be at that race. Venerini will probably bring their 3 cars. Andy Hillenberg will probably bring 2 cars like he always does. Usually he brings the double wide trailer. But it's safe to say that this championship is just far from over. And I would easily say that we still got 5 guys in contention for this championship. You look at the 23 car field we had this weekend, and then you look at the possible 30 plus car field we might have at Phoenix. This championship is far from over. Jesse Love by no means has this title locked up. 1st through 5th is just separated by 15 points. Now, obviously, again, for me, the sentimental favorite for me is Pedroncelli. Just like what we saw with Brett Holmes last season, love nothing more to see the family-owned team take down the big guns, especially McNally, who has won just so much. It'd be great to see those guys take them down. Unfortunately, it's just kind of hard to beat those teams when it comes to their equipment and having their second car just do starting parks to literally help fund the team. But it's still anyone's championship. 5 guys, 15 points separate them all. Definitely going to be either a good show, crap show. But obviously, race pick for this weekend. Oh, God, man. There's a lot of good entries this weekend. And a track like All-American, which is just so tiny. All-American Speedway is just so tiny. I think it's only a 3rd mile short track. God, how do you... I'm as stumped as you guys. I mean, we got so many good cars this weekend. I mean, I don't know who you would pick to win. I'd only say Taylor Gray, probably because he'll wreck the entire field, but I would say my pick to win this weekend would either be PJ Pedroncelli because he really excels as these short tracks, or it would be Jesse Love. Underdog pick would be Todd Souza. And again, the only starting park in the field it looks like is Paul Pedroncelli again. Don't really want him to be a starting park, but with how small this track is and them really can't afford to tear up a car, expect Paul to just run a couple of laps, pocket the last place 23rd, which pays $1,000, load the car up and put all that effort towards the 33, which in an effort like right there is a smart thing to do. But it's great to see that we still have a huge championship battle going on. And although the main series championship was pretty much decided by now, unless we get a miracle 35-car field, it's great to see that the West Series championship has an unbelievable 5 guys who have a shot at the championship. And it just goes to show you I feel like if NASCAR would just try to keep running down to the points every year, I know they want 4 guys, equal shot at the championship, but look at right here. We got 5 guys with 2 races to go, separated by just 15 points. And it's not by manufacturing playoff standings. It's just by 5 guys who have had good and bad luck this season. But yeah, that's the West action. Tune in this weekend. I believe this is a West race, actually. It's not on TV, but if you have Track Pass and you're not doing anything on when is this race going to be held again? Saturday, duh. I'm a knucklehead. Saturday. If you're not doing anything this Saturday after the Xfinity race, turn on this race. It'll be highly entertaining, I guarantee you. Hopefully Taylor doesn't wreck the whole field, and if he does, well, we'll find out and wait for the consequences. But definitely watch the championship battle. And like I said, underdog pick is Todd Souza. The guy I want to win is PJ Pedroncelli, but my actual pick to win is actually Jesse Love, because it's hard to not go with the best team, McNally Racing, and right now the best car on that team, the 16 of Jesse Love. But as for my championship pick, PJ is my guy, but in reality, it would take a lot. But in ARCA, anything can happen. We've definitely seen that. So definitely check out that race this weekend. We'll be live tweeting throughout the entire thing. Good luck to all the women entered. Good luck to all the men entered too. Good luck to all my guys and all my friends out there in Roseville. If any photographers are out there, if my buddy Luis, if you watch the show, Luis, he's a photographer. Follow him at the LT Files on Twitter. Great photographer. Hopefully he'll be out there so we can use some pictures of the cars. And that kind of wraps up the West race. But I want to take this time before we end the show here to just say thank you. Brad Smith, I can't recall the last time he had ever ran on stickers. And for me, being a guy who drives, not I wish I drove, but who crews for these lower budget teams, the jealousy is real. Seeing all these high dollar teams being able to just roll off set after set after set after set of sticker tires. And then there's us having to bolt on these used, beat up, can barely go tires. But unfortunately, it's just all Brad can get his hands on and what he can afford. And it really makes you sad, because he's a hard worker. You know, if there's more respect that I could say for anyone, it's that for everyone that jokes on ARCA, for everyone that says that ARCA is a complete joke, go to that garage area. And I want you guys to compare that to NASCAR, and you see the 48 guy just tearing it up every week, working on his own car. And where else you see an 83-year-old Korean war vet, Wayne Peterson, working on his own car too. And those poor guys just struggling every week to get tires. And I just wanted to create this fundraiser just as a chance to see, what can we do? What can a small kid from Iowa do to help one of his best friends and this low-budget team really try to be competitive? And the overwhelming support we got, I cannot say thank you enough. We hit our goal last night, $2,050. ARCA sets are normally $1,700. I don't know if they had a tax to that or not. We'll find out when we get there, but just let you guys know, all the money, I will withdraw it, and all the money is going straight to Kansas. And as part of the deal, I might either write them on the car or get a custom sticker. I'm still not deciding which one we'll do yet. Everyone's name who donated will be riding with us on the 48 Chevrolet. There still is time to donate. I'm not going to withdraw the money until about next week. So if you guys still want to donate, it can be as little as $1, and your name will still be on that 48 Chevrolet. I cannot thank you guys enough. It really goes to show that, and I hope Brad realizes it too, we may not be the fastest out there, but we got a lot of fans. And the people like me who support these low-budget teams, I wish there was more of them out there, because there's not enough. But for my friends in the chat, my friends who follow my Start and Park account, they're just like me. We love these low-budget teams because they work so hard. I've never seen someone work so hard to run last. And in my opinion, that's ultimate respect. And I can honestly say, working for Wayne, working for Brad, it's the experiences like that I'd rather take than working for the top dollar teams. Yeah, it'd be fun to be in victory lane, but it's my own victory being able to just do this in general. So to everyone who donated, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm sure Brad, we will definitely get a video of him thanking everybody. Everyone will be riding on that car. I will post pictures all over the Start and Park account of everyone's names, just thanking you all. And like I said, with the sticker tires, more than likely we'll try to run the whole race on just that set. And right now it's looking like we might get about a 25 car plus field. We're shooting for a top 15, top 20 finish and take 5th place and just overall and have a good time. And to anyone who's in the Kansas area, I guess here's a little bit of a plug. Anyone who's in the Kansas area who's going to that cup race, if you're also going to the Xfinity race, stay afterwards. Stay afterwards of the Xfinity race and watch the good old ARCA race. But from the bottom of my heart, guys, thank you so much for donating. It means a lot. And that's really all I can say. I'm happy to do this podcast for ARCA, and I'm glad to see where it's gotten us, see how far we've gotten. But as I said, donate, follow Brad Smith on Twitter, follow Menards on Twitter, follow ARCA Racing on Twitter, follow me on Twitter, follow everyone on Twitter. How about that? Follow everyone on Twitter. How about that? And we will catch you guys next week on the ARCA Racing podcast with our All-American West Series review. And I've been Colby Evans, and goodbye, everyone. See ya!